Last time on New Hope, future Bulma at last told Puehringer her wishes, which turned out to be to bring Gohan back to life, an instantaneous trip back to Earth, and to make herself a few years younger. While the androids may be long gone, a new foe presents himself in the form of Perfect Cell. Question is, has Gohan's training in Otherworld, if any, been enough to take on such a villain? This is part 12 of an ongoing series and was created by DB New Hope. Support them and catch up full easy in the links below. Showing what his training in Otherworld has resulted in, Cell finds himself in the dirt, only able to witness firsthand the power before him. Standing, we're met with an irony that neither of these iterations would ever know. As we saw in the panels before, Cell has lost the ability to use his left arm, the exact same thing he would do to Gohan in the original story. However, the show of resolve doesn't last long for the villain as he again falls to a knee. Instead of spouting off about some secret trump card, or spitting out a cocky quip of him using only a portion of his strength, the bio-android curses that this is impossible. How? How could he have such tremendous power? Instead, it's Gohan with a show of confidence. He chirps at his foe if that's his full power. He stands no chance here. It's over.
Shut up!
Coming to a surprise to the both of them, even though it's second nature to the viewer to know that Cell can regenerate. This being Gohan's first encounter with the Fiend, and Cell himself never facing a challenge so great that he needed to even try. He stands in amazement at his own ability, even having to ask himself if he just regenerated. It's like he did so out of mere instinct. The SAIYAN comments that Cell seems surprised that he possesses the same ability as Piccolo, so it is true that he's never faced someone who is able to do enough damage to find out. But after that, even more so than before, he's on the verge of exhaustion. He might have two arms again, but he's in a far worse position than if he had just kept it broken off. And just like his alternate self from the past, the one who faced a young, enraged Gohan, at least from the original story, Cell felt something for the first time in his existence. Fear. He screams no! How can it be? His data was clear. By obtaining his perfect body, he should have become invincible. No mere mortal anywhere in the universe, let alone this devastated rock, should have a warrior who can come anywhere near his power. Slowly stepping closer to him, Gohan informs that the data Cell has isn't wrong. Gohan did get killed by androids 17 and 18. He had the privilege of keeping his body in the Otherworld. And even if the bio-android is able to somehow go back in time, say 10 years ago, he still trained alongside of his father as well as Piccolo, neither of which he would last even a second against. Flashing back, the day Gohan died, he was treated to this sight firsthand. Yamcha explained to him that his dad surpassed the Super Saiyan state. He can now use a form that he calls Super Saiyan 2. And for Piccolo, he's been using the full potential of the Namekians that they're all calling Ultimate Namekian, though he himself seemed reluctant to give it a proper name. And just to clarify, if we zoom in, it does not look like this is Orange Piccolo or anything. Krillin tells how they've all made some considerable progress since they died, but those two are simply geniuses. There hasn't been a single day where they haven't trained their hearts out, which is why King Kai doesn't want them on his planet anymore. This latest blow driving the fear all the further into Cell. Gohan may have had to regain his fighting instincts in this battle. Just so he knows, He didn't even have to use his full power against him. What Cell considers this almighty god level of stolen perfection is nothing more than a single step to the Saiyan himself, one that he passed long ago. And now horrified Cell screeches for his adversary to silence himself. He's nothing more than an insect, an insolent pest. He is Cell, the ultimate being of the universe.
Won't lose against you!
Spectating, even from so far away, Dende and Bulma can see that Cell is now enormous. What happened to him? The former reasons, and senses, that he must have boosted his power. But what? That's bad news for Gohan, isn't it? However, it's quite the opposite. Cell's brute strength reduces his speed. He's no match for Gohan now. Actually, he's all but assured that he won't even touch him. Strange twist. Cell spats out Android 17. He just threw him up. He's one of the androids who wreaked havoc on Earth, Bulma says to Dende, which explains the power drop. Cell is weaker than ever now. Who's still trying to gather himself. Looking down at what just happened. The transformation ensues before he has time to even process what's going on.
No! No!
Now that his enemy has lost so much power, Gohan decides that he's seen enough. The reign of terror brought on by Gero and his abominations is over. The Saiyan vows that he will crush Cell once and for all.
Never!
Beelining it towards space, Gohan shouts after the coward for trying to run away. But the villain's plan is that once he gets off the planet, he'll blow this world to pieces with Gohan on it. A little ill thought given he can still regenerate in the worst case scenario, but he likely has no idea of the extreme extent of that ability in this timeline. It seems it doesn't matter what Cell's planning. Gohan promises he won't get away, and today's the day he's finally the one to die.
Almost there!
Once again, unbeknownst to our hero, he would manage to take Cell out with one final Kamehameha. Just a few years later this time around, it's finally over. Well, almost. Given all the chaos and suffering the android caused him, his family, friends, and the people of Earth, Gohan shoots 17 a death stare as he hisses that he could have gone without seeing the android's face again. But this will be the last time. Who stands up to say that he could say the same about him. Though given the situation, he's grateful that he eradicated that monster. But the Saiyan scowls for him to keep his gratitude. He's no better than that creature he just blew into a million pieces. The only reason 17 is still alive is because that monster spit him up and tried to flee. However, the former villain claims to be nothing like Cell. He was born a human here on Earth. He and his sister were forcibly turned into killing machines by that crazy old man. Did Gohan know that? Also, he could exact revenge on Gohan's father. They never asked for such a life. Continuing his sob story, he admits that he felt Gohan's tremendous power from his blasts, punches, and kicks while stuck inside Cell. He won't try anything stupid. He only pleads to be spared. His only wish is to live peacefully on Earth. How dare he try to play the victim now and beg for mercy? Did he or his sister ever give mercy to any of the innocent women or children they massacred just to entertain themselves? With that power-up, the android notices Gohan's boosted himself up to Super Saiyan 2. Who furthers that he warned 17 before he died that he would never break humanity's will to live. And now, he will not take any risk concerning Earth's safety. Since he's come back to life, it's his responsibility to protect it. Now on his hands and knees begging to just be given a second chance to prove himself. Gohan barks for him to be silent. He will never forgive him for all the pain that he's caused. Humanity will rebuild itself and finally live in a peaceful world. Somewhere 17 and his sister don't belong. With that, it's really over now. Prompting Dende and Bulma to sprint out from the shadows. Giving the pair a familiar salute, he shouts to them his location with the danger out of the way. Not only is Cell gone, but the androids too. He's done it. Forming tears in her eyes. After all of these years of suffering, they're finally free. She knew that she could count on him. He saved them all. And mentioning a good point, it's only due to Bulma's unwavering determination. This victory is as much on her as it is on him. She was the planet's final hope and worked relentlessly to locate New Namek. Ergo, naturally, their Namekian friends were also instrumental in making this happen. At least in reference to herself. Bulma's glad that he mentioned that. She's not the type to pat herself on the back, but she thinks they can all agree that this time, she did save the Earth. Even the universe! She had total faith in Gohan to take care of the fighting stuff. That's why she resurrected him in particular. Though the Saiyan coyly laughs this off. He has to mention that, speaking of which, he's surprised that she didn't bring back Vegeta. She could have with the Namekian Dragon Balls, right? Why did she ask to look young again instead? Screaming like she does, and given Dende obliviously called her old looking only minutes prior back on Namek. She questions if they have any idea what it's like to grow old. No, they don't. Gohan died at like age 23 and didn't age in Otherworld. And Dende can live for literal centuries without getting a single wrinkle. No way in heck should let Vegeta see her as a 65-year-old grandma. She'd rather die. But of course she thought about him. Although, she knew darn well that he wouldn't be keeping his body in Otherworld. To bring him back was way too risky. He's an idiot. Knowing him, he would have just rushed headfirst against Cell. And for what? Either way, Dende will make them a new set of Dragon Balls, so everything will be reset eventually. News that comes to the surprise of Gohan. He questions Dende how that's possible. Did he bring a set from New Namek or something? Which isn't exactly how it works. What he'll try to do is reactivate the original balls from here on Earth. For that, he'll need the Dragon model statue created by the previous Guardian. Do they have any idea where it might be? And the natural thought is that it must be on Kami's lookout. There isn't anywhere else it could be. First, they need to get there. Bulma only hopes that the lookout wasn't destroyed by the androids or Cell. And she doesn't want to be carried all the way there, so she suggests that they get on her plane. Moments later, with the opportunity just to sit back and relax, Dende was able to heal Gohan from the battle. Thanking him, he mentions that it's also really awesome that he's going to become the new Guardian of Earth, who returns the gratitude. It'll be an honor for him, actually. Although, he can only reactivate the Dragon Balls if the Dragon model still has some magic from the previous Guardian within it. Of course, this is quite the shock to our heroes. Bulma questions what'll happen if there's no more magic left in the Shenron model. Piccolo and Kami died more than 30 years ago. Quelling her concerns, the Namekian assures that she has no need to worry. If that is the case, he'll create new ones. The only caveat is that they will need to wait a full year to make use of them. That's the only way he can make them more powerful than the previous ones. To the great relief of the scientist. What's one more year after waiting 30? Either way, they're going to be getting their friends back really soon. Looking out the window, Gohan requests Bulma to slow the aircraft down a bit. Alarmed at what he's talking about, he says that he wants to get off here. Confused, Is he sure? They're still pretty far away from the lookout, but he's 100% certain. He'll go out the back hatch. As it opens, he happily informs the others that he'll meet him at the lookout in just a little bit, bidding them a short-lived farewell. Ende points out that he seemed to be really focused on something. Does she have any idea what's gotten him so pensive? With tears in her eyes again, it hits Bulma exactly what his intentions are. He's going after what he treasures the most in this world.